Welcome today to Pacifictech's Advanced Stock Take demo. My name's Bill Fligg, I'm our North America Sales Manager, and with me here today is Brendan Griffiths, our Senior Consultant. Here's a little information about our company before we get into the demo. Pacifictech has been providing solutions for Sage 300 for over 20 years, focused on delivering Tier 1 capability and enhanced functionality to what is now over 2,600 Sage 300 customers around the world using our solutions. We develop our solutions using Sage 300 Software Development Kit, otherwise known as their SDK. This is a very large differentiator between us and other ISVs. Our solutions, because they're engineered the same way as Sage 300 with the SDK, they reside inside of Sage 300 where you're already working. We also have a very comprehensive procure-to-pay solution, including AP automation. We have powerful, innovative modules, including web-based solutions and mobile capabilities, with 3 cloud-connected services. We have data centers in Canada, Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand. We've won a number of awards over the years from Sage that we're quite proud of, and we truly are a global ISV. Over to you, Brendan, so you can get on with the demo. Thanks.
All right, so we'll go through it. It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you're very familiar with the standard physical inventory process, and it sort of mirrors that with some key enhancements which we'll cover off. So in terms of it sort of sitting, it just sits in as part of inventory control here. It's got its own little folder. It's called Advanced Stock Taking. No real setup to do. There are a couple of optional things you can do, which we'll run through. Nothing really is mandatory here. So I guess the first thing under the options here, we've got our numbering scheme, the same sort of numbering configuration that we see in the other modules. So I guess the key point here is that this Advanced Stock Take is going to be doing its own, generating its own worksheet numbers. I'm sure you're aware in the standard one, you've got to sort of type in some sort of free-form text, which ultimately becomes the adjustment number, but with Advanced Stock Take, it'll generate its own numbering scheme, and the ST whatever number will become the adjustment number once you post the stock take. And then the other 2 optional sort of things you can set up is under the, we've got a item set up here. You don't have to, but what you can do here is for any particular item, you can define what you want to be the default stock taking unit to be. So if you don't have anything in here, it'll just use the stocking unit of measure as per normal. If you want, if this, in this case, in this item, we preferred to count in cases rather than eaches, we could set that up and add that as a default stock taking unit of measure. So just, you only have to select those items you feel you want to have a default unit of measure on. And then the other option here we've got is barcode. So this is where we can indicate, put in a barcode and then an item number and a unit of measure that matches that barcode. It's a little bit of future proofing for us. We don't really use it a great deal. It does appear in the worksheet, you'll see it, but we're not really using it to a great extent at this point. The idea being that in development, we're going to be getting a mobile app that will be using this sort of barcode. All right, so that's really, and like I say, both of those things are optional, so there's no real setup to do. Once you activate the module, you're really good to go. So in terms of the process, quite similar to the standard one, in that we have a generate inventory worksheet. Let's have a look at that. It looks very much the same as the standard one, with one big difference being this date effective field at the top. That's one of the very key things with Advanced Stock Take, is it's date effective. So in other words, I can generate this stock take for any date and time, and it'll calculate the quantities on hand as at that point in time. So I don't have to do that hard cutoff you normally have to do and stop processing. I can carry on processing and then do my worksheet and set my worksheet back a few days, or do my date effective as at the end of the month. So the effective date will calculate the quantities on hand as at that date. So if I say a date effective here of 30th of June 2020 is my sample data, it will go and generate my worksheet, and it will give me the quantities on hand as at that date. So it's not just a snapshot as at right now. It'll actually say, oh, okay, what are the quantities as at that date? So in other words, that gives me that lead time to get all my transactions in and then generate my worksheet to match the quantities at that point. Normally, you sort of have to get all your end of month transactions in, and you have to hold off processing any future transactions before so that you can sort of take a snapshot as at that date. So I have to get all my transactions for the 30th of June in, and meanwhile hold up processing anything that's going to affect quantities until I've generated my worksheet. In this case, I can say, okay, I need a couple of days to get all my transactions up to the 30th of June, but they can carry on processing July transactions as well. No problem. I don't have to freeze or anything, because when I'm ready, once they've got those transactions entered for June, or take them a day or whatever, then I can just come in here and do my date effective, and it'll ignore the July transactions that have been put in terms on hand. They could generate the worksheets, and then when they get them back, they can actually generate this worksheet with the quantities on hand as at that same effective date, which should match the counts. Even though a month of time has passed and there's another month's worth of transactions in, under the normal circumstances, you generate a worksheet, the quantities are going to be incorrect because they're going to be right up to date. You generate 30th as at the end of December, and it would be matched the accounts. So let's go ahead and generate a worksheet here. I'll just do location 2, but you've got all the normal filters in here, including count set, and then you get all your sort by all your normal fields, including these ones down here, which are all the optional fields. So I think the standard one's the same. You can sort of use any of those item optional fields as a selection or a parameter to generate the worksheet for. I'll just use category. We'll just do a single category to keep our counts down. So this is the posting date. So normally, that's the same thing as a document date versus a posting date. I would normally assume that would be the same as your date effective, unless for some reason you'd closed off, I guess, and you wanted to post it in the following period, but normally you'd make that the same. Yeah, so same options that you have for the normal one, about including all inventory items, which I'll do, and whether you want a default. And then click process. Bit hard to tell on the sample data, but that on a large data set, that sort of worksheet generation, the standard one, can take quite a while. This one is quite optimized. This has come from some of our fuel industry clients where they've got a very large amount of inventory data. So that worksheet generation process has been optimized, and it's a lot quicker than the standard one. All right, let's close that. So that's generated my worksheet for me. So I can come over here to my stock take listing, which is where this is a little bit different to the standard one. So the first thing you'll notice is that this is very much like a batch list. So I can have any number of stock take sheets or stock worksheets on the go here. These are my ones that are unposted. That's the one I just generated. That's the one I've done previously. And it's just like a batch list. I can go back and look at previously posted ones. I can go back and double click on that and open it up and have a look at my counts, the counts that were entered. I can't do anything with it, obviously, because it's been posted, but I can review it. I can print it out. I've got all the reports. So I'll have all the history of what my actual counts were. Quite key, quite important. So let's go and have a look at the worksheet itself. It's pretty standard to what you'd expect. So we do have that column for barcode. I don't have any barcodes loaded, but that's where they will be. And if you, the idea is if you've got a barcode set up, you can scan or enter a barcode in here and it will match that item. You'll notice that first item there, default unit set up as case, so that's brought that in as cases. So that shows me my picking sequence and conversion rate, and my quantity on hand. So that's the quantity on hand as at the effective date, like we talked about, 30th of June. And one really nice feature, what I can do here is I can actually drill down on that quantity on hand and actually see one transaction in here that is dated on the same day as your date effective, 30th of June. So you have the option, and it is automatically included in the count in the quantity on hand figure, but you do have the option to include or exclude that out of your quantity on hand if you like. Normally you would include them, but the idea being there may be some late transactions that are dated the same date as your actual physical stock count, and maybe they weren't included in the actual physical count, and you want to exclude those transactions out just to help with the time, any kind of timing difference. And the same in this case here, this one is showing because it's on the same day and it has been costed or been through day end. But if there are any transactions for this item that are sitting waiting pending day end, they will show up in here as well and be indicated as being not costed. So that's a pretty good indicator to go and do a day end. So it'll actually tell you if you've got any unprocessed or uncosted transactions sitting in here as part of the stock take, as part of the stock count. All right, other than that, the quantity counts, we support all the multi-units of measure. So that's, can do the 3 cases and another unit of measure and do 4 eaches or whatever. So I can put on the multiple units of measure and that will calculate up. Other than that, I just have to go through and put my counts in. And you'll see over here, I've got a new, the statuses here. They're automatically not counted unless there's a 0 variance, which will make it ready to post. But for anything that needs a count, you have to enter a count in for it, and you won't be able to post this worksheet until all the counts have been entered. So I can go through and put these in. I should actually make a couple of ones with some differences. That'll do us. So it does actually fully support import and export, fully in the SDK, so it's got the full views. All right, so some other, I guess I need to go through and put these counts in. Let's just do that for the ones that we need to, so that we've got something that's going to post for us. 130, 55. Save all that. All right, so now some of the other things we can do. So I generated this worksheet for that category, A1 category, so that's what I've got. I may come across some items that for whatever reason aren't included in my count, for whatever reason. Maybe the sequences are out, maybe I did it by picking sequence and for whatever reason it wasn't counted. I don't have a count for it. I can actually delete items out of my worksheet just by hitting the delete key, and that will remove items off this worksheet. So it won't be part of the stock take anymore. And also, the opposite of that is if I do come across an item that's in my counts but not on my worksheet, for whatever reason, I can at this point insert items onto this worksheet as well by using the insert key, and then go and selecting whichever item I want to include, and then put the count in for that. This quantity on hand is as at the 30th of June, based on the transactions in the system, as at this effective date. What it's technically doing is actually getting the quantity on hand right now, and then less any future dated transactions that are in future of that effective date to get back to the quantity on hand. Export, import off the file menu as per normal. You can go back and print them and export them. Even after they're posted, you'll be able to go back and export them and print them if you wanted to, because we never delete them. They're always there. So what I can do here is I can add odd items. So what happened there is I generated this worksheet for category A, but have added a category C item in there as well. So if you think about that, what you can actually do is start with you don't actually even have to do a generate worksheet if you don't want to. You can start with a blank worksheet and just add in whatever items you need for a cycle count. And they don't have to be in any sequence. They don't have to be in a category or a count set or have any kind of grouping. You can just go and say, I want this item, this item, this item. Maybe it's my 10 high value items or whatever that I want to count every week. And I can set up a worksheet for those 10 items that are not sequential in any way. And then I can copy worksheets. So once I've set that worksheet up, I can take that worksheet and I can copy it again and open it up again, change my effective date to the next week, and do my counts again. So very easy to have a template worksheet that's completely custom, and then just generate a new worksheet off that one, change my effective date, and away I go. So let's save all that and close out of there. Everything's all good, ready to post. What I can do from here is I can print. If I want to, I should have done that first, really. I can print the worksheet or the counts to be entered, and it's a pretty simplistic, very clean count worksheet. And if you wanted to have a manual way of someone to go and enter the counts in, that's what that's all about. And also the other report, I'll do it once we've posted actually. Actually, no, what I'll do is I'll demonstrate that by, let's go back into this worksheet and let's just put a variance in here. Let's make that 220 for a minute, so that we've got a variance on it. Save all that. So at the moment we've got a variance on that worksheet. There is a special report we have, which if I just close this for a minute. Under our reports, we have got a recount sheet. So what we can do here is for any particular stock take, generate this recount and say, I just want stuff that has got a quantity variance. And you can show the quantity on hand if you want, or you don't have to. And what this is, just once you've entered the counts, if you wanted to regenerate a recount sheet for anything with a variance and send it back out to the guys to recount, it'll just show the ones with variances, and they can go through and do a recount of those items, just in case they made a mistake or whatever for those variance items. All right, let's go back to where we were. Back in here, just everything is good. Let's put that back to 225. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's got a variance. Could have left it what the variance would have posted anyway. All right, so let's just go back and just post that, which is the normal deal. Just click on post, and that'll just go through and got some fractional quantities, but that'll go through and post your stock take as a stock adjustment in the normal way, and it disappears off my list and shows as posted. All right, so that's the process. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Like I said before, you don't actually have to do the generate. We'll go back and have a look at that generator screen again in a minute for you. But what you can do is from this stock take listing is I can just click new and just start with a new blank worksheet, choose my effective date in here, and then just start entering items in. Whichever items I want to include on my worksheet, just add odd items in there. Like so. And then I can use this worksheet and copy it, because when I copy this worksheet, what I can do is, as well as including the date effective when I generate, I can within the worksheet change this date effective as well. So I might have generated this worksheet with an effective date of 31st of March. That's a mistake. Or want to change that, I can go back in here and say, actually, I want to make that effective date 31st of January. Or December, and then click on that, and then that will go through and tell me, oh, I've got an invalid item. That's all good. It's telling me there is I've already got this item in another worksheet. I'll explain that in a minute. But the idea is I can change that date effective at any time within the worksheet and regenerate. That's a security resource, so as long as you've got security, you can change the date effective within the worksheet itself and recalculate those quantity on hands as well. What that message was about is, as you'll see from here, is that I can actually have two worksheets going at the same time for the same location, which is exactly what I've got going on there. And what that message there was telling me as well was, yeah, you've got an error there because you've got the same item on two different worksheets for the same location. The idea here is that whereas in the standard one you can only have one worksheet per location, and we know lots of people that have to then export that out and then split that up into manageable chunks for people to actually go and count. What you can do here is generate individual worksheets for individual people to count, all for the same location, as long as the items don't overlap like they were there. You'll get that message. All right, and then about the only other thing I was going to show is, I guess, just to highlight the point that in a worksheet, because you can insert items, if I'm in here and I insert an item that already exists on my worksheet, it won't duplicate it. It just takes me straight back up to that item that's already in the worksheet. So it's kind of aware of what items are already in that worksheet, and you, for whatever reason, entering in your counts and you come across and try and put the same item number in again, it'll automatically detect that and just jump you back up to that same row and let you increase the count on that row for that same item. That allows for that situation where you get the same item number appearing twice in your physical counts. Okay, that's about it, really.
Thanks, Brendan. That was really informative. That concludes our demo today. If you'd like more information, please contact us anytime for assistance. Thank you and have a great day.